Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Wednesday evening to you all. I hope you guys are doing great out there tonight and had yourselves a wonderful day. And I hope everyone's been having a great week out there so far. I got you a nighttime video for you. I know I have not made one in quite some time. And in this video, we're going to specifically talk about the pattern I'm watching to unfold next week into the early portion of December, really the first several days of December. Not only I, but the National Weather Service is saying, hey, the chances are pretty high for below average temperatures across a good portion of the country. And the chances are pretty high for the shot of above average chances of precipitation. So what does that mean this time of the year? November, December, January, etc. That typically means you're going to run the risk of a winter storm. And when are you going to run the risk of that winter storm? Next week, one of the most highly traveled weeks of the year. You got to get to grandma's house and you got to get home from grandma's house, right? So we need to figure this one out. A lot of people wondering what's going to happen. And like I said, this isn't just Mitch saying, hey, it looks pretty favorable for a big time winter storm. The National Weather Service is honking the horn at this too. So we're going to speak on this, get very detailed. We'll talk about the Climate Prediction Center first. We'll go over all model guidance. We'll nerd out with you guys a little bit and really break this down. We're not going to completely skip over what's going on right now across the eastern U.S. or what will unfold over the next few days. Just in this video, I just want to talk about this significant pattern change upcoming to end this month into early December. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. If anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put it in the comments below. Let's get rocking and rolling tonight. So this is the Climate Prediction Center for the National Weather Service. This was issued around 4 p.m. Eastern time this afternoon. This is the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. So this runs from the 26th through the 30th of November. So pretty much takes us through the last few to several days of November. The chances are pretty high, an 80% chance of below average temperatures up here in the northern plains. I mean, you might as well include all of the high to central plains here, northern central plains, 60 to 80% chance of below average temperatures. In the middle of the country, I mean, you got a good 50 to 60% chance of below average temperatures. You start to get to the deep south, you're likely going to undergo a period of above average temperatures as the pattern kind of resets and then reloads, if you will. And we're going to speak on what that means here in a second. So this is the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. What about the 8 to 14 day temperature outlook? Check this out. This had a lot of people in the weather world that are winter weather and cold weather fans excited, including me, because I'm not going to lie, I'm a cold weather and winter weather fan, which is weird coming from somebody in South Carolina, but I am. But check this out. This is the 8 to 14 day temperature outlook, which runs from November 28th through December 4th. Almost the entire country runs the risk of below average temperatures. Okay. And, South Carolina, down to the deep south, I mean, only that 30 to 40% chance. But listen, I think as we get into tomorrow, this will start to even ooze a little bit further southeast. The only area that is likely not going to get affected by this, at least in this period, is maybe Florida. Still run the risk of above average temperatures, but it's looking like the entire country is going to cool down just about. Just in time for the holidays. Some people wait till Thanksgiving to put their Christmas tree up. You got people like me that's already put it up. You got people that'll wait till December 1st. But this will definitely put you in the holiday spirit if that's your, vibe, which it should be, right? Holidays, cold weather. But, some people rather hang out, around Christmas time with the palm trees in Florida. I get it. But, let's back it up to this. And I want to look at precipitation. Okay. Same time frame, but this is the 6 to 10 day. So we're going to back it up a little bit. So, in the 6 to 10 day time frame, you have a chance of above average precipitation. 50% here, 40% chance of precipitation being above normal. So you mix this, and let's go back to the temperature with that. Okay, that tells me, hey, chances of below average temperatures, chances of above average precipitation. What does that mean? It's probably going to mean some sort of winter weather, right? Especially up here this time of the year. And then you look at the 8 to 14 day temperature outlook. We just showed you this. Let's compare that against the precipitation, right? All right. Once you get to that 8 to 14 day range, of course, confidence is not really high one way or the other. But they're already thinking a chance of above average precipitation, not high, just about a 33 to 40% chance of above average precipitation. It's there too across this area. And almost this entire area that you see in green has that shot of below average temperatures. So just kind of want to break that down for you. And the reason I spent so much time on that is because this is the experts in the National Weather Service. They are honking the horn at this significant pattern change. So let's break down some model guidance, right? Let's take a look at the 12Z Euro. And I just want to remind you guys of the audience, don't look at all this and think that's exactly what's going to happen. What we look for when we're searching out a pattern change in a storm signal is the consistency in the model runs. We don't look at one model run and say, man, I'm sold. I'm sold in that happening. You don't want to do that. You're going to set yourself up for disappointment or whatever, right? Failure. So let's look at the latest Euro, the long range Euro from this afternoon. All right, we're going to actually start this off by next Monday afternoon. Looks like a quiet period across the middle of the country. Here comes a system that starts to evolve. All right, I do think we'll have some energy that will fly across the Canadian-U.S. border up here. I don't think that'll be a big storyline. But as we start to get into the morning of Thanksgiving Eve, okay, next Wednesday morning, about a week from today, a little under, a little bit of snow showing up across the northern plains and the upper Midwest, north central U.S. And then all of a sudden, look at this big winter storm that begins to evolve the night before Thanksgiving across the high plains. Heavy snow begins. Low pressure, kind of moving zonal-like across the middle of the country. Okay, it's literally moving like west to east. A big winter storm going right over Nebraska, getting right into Iowa, affecting areas of South Dakota. We got this 995 low. This continues. This brings a winter storm into Chicago, northern Missouri, all the way up into Iowa. The low pressure cuts right through the Midwest, the southern sections of the Midwest. You got snow on the cold side and you got rain on the southern side. And then this system heads into the northeast, which we'll show you in a different time stamp here in a second. Okay, this entire time frame, look up here, because I will forget to mention the time sometimes. I'm not perfect. But, this is next Wednesday, 27 NOV, stands for November, right? So Thanksgiving Eve into Thanksgiving. I mean, you got a big time raging snowstorm across areas of the Midwest. Classic, right? Some people might view that as something really cool and neat. I would, but other people, that's a travel disaster, right? And then we start to get into day 10, and there's a lot of other energy that begins to fly around too. But I really just want to focus on the Thanksgiving into the weekend after storm signal we're watching, okay? There's a lot of energy that continues to fly around. Let's look at the GFS for that same time period. Well, the same geographical area, the central U.S., right? Start off next Monday morning, not a whole lot going on. We get into Tuesday morning, still not a whole lot going on. There's the energy emerging across the Rockies. This could bring some stuff. All right, we get into next Tuesday evening. Look at this light and moderate snow breaking out across areas of the Midwest and the plains. And then we start to get a lot of energy that starts to get going, a lot of lift right up against this jet streak. And we'll talk about that here in a second. And this boundary and along this boundary, you got energy, right? That's separating that really cold polar air with a lot of moist air from the south. And it's setting up here. So we're getting into next Wednesday morning. Blue snow, green rain. All right, we're starting to get into next Wednesday night, Thanksgiving Eve. All right, making some last second traveling, whatever you got going on, cooking. All right, look at this low pressure down here. And we don't want to ignore any kind of severe weather threat with this too. There is definitely going to be a risk of severe weather if we have low pressures cutting across the middle of the country. Just really focusing in a lot on the winter weather side of this for now. But a lot of focus could go into that here in the future. We start to get into Thursday morning, Thanksgiving, right? Make sure I have my days, not get my days mixed up. Thanksgiving seems like it's running a little bit later this year. But this is Thanksgiving morning. Look at the snow flying around in St. Louis. It's a little bit further south, okay? But you got snow in central Illinois, northern Indiana, some snow back here across areas of the plains. And then, we get into next weekend, and it gets a little quieter, but still a lot of cold air around. Okay, and we start to get, deeper into the year. But let's just focus on next week. So let's go back, okay? Let's go back and look at, this is Thanksgiving morning, right? Look at the snow right here. Let's look at Thanksgiving morning on the Euro. Let's back it up here. This is Thanksgiving more on the Euro. The system is a little bit slower, and it looks like it's a lot more beefed up, right? Significant winter storm going across areas in the Midwest and the plains. You compare that with this, same kind of setup, right? Cold air catching up with that precipitation. I mean, that's from two of the big dog models, the GFS and the Euro. Okay, now let's switch over to the eastern U.S. Okay, this is when it gets, kind of crazy. Timing gets a little bit further off here. Euro, same thing. We'll start off next Tuesday afternoon. Next Tuesday. We're already getting cold air kind of coming down. This is getting some lake effect energy going. So we could already have some lake effect snow bands, interior New England, northeast snow ongoing. I mean, all the way into Thanksgiving Eve. Next Wednesday. We start to get into Thursday morning. There's that big system we just broke down for the central U.S. starting to kind of come into the picture, right? We start to get into Thanksgiving afternoon and evening. Look at this big low pressure. I mean, this is a big storm off the Euro showing up across the Midwest, the Ohio Valley. I mean, you even got a wintry mix breaking out across some of the higher elevated regions of Virginia, Maryland, West Virginia, even some ice showing up down here near Boone. Not a forecast. Okay, then we start to get into Black Friday, next Friday. Look at this winter storm developing across Pennsylvania. Your classic look for kind of a cold air damming event. Looks like a Miller B type storm. We'll get deep into that in time, okay? Cold air trying to catch up with this precipitation, a big washout for your next Friday morning if this was to happen. And look at this heavy snow, mixed bag of precipitation, and then this low pressure becomes dominant. And this had a lot of people excited in the Northeast, winter weather fans. But this is next Friday evening, folks. I mean, remember, this is 9 days out. Look at the snow falling across the southern Alps, central Alps. Look at this big winter storm, your classic-looking coastal low winter storm setup as we round off the last couple of days of November. Look at this snow moving into southern New England. Big winter storm. That would be a major winter storm. Okay, and then that heads on out. What about the GFS? What is it showing? The latest GFS, same kind of evolution, right? We're getting into Wednesday morning. We're getting into next Thursday morning, Thanksgiving morning. Look at the snow, the winter storm. I mean, this would be a winter storm breaking out across Pennsylvania, northern Ohio, the snow event across the Midwest. Look at the snow. I mean, if this model's correct, it's snowing. GFS is snowing next Thursday morning, next Thanksgiving, on the parade in New York City. And this continues. And on the GFS, it develops like the Euro, except a day or two earlier. So this is Thanksgiving afternoon. Look at this winter storm developing across the Northeast. Pretty wild stuff. Look at this ice showing up. You continue to move here. Then look at the wraparound snow getting all the way back down to the mountains of North Carolina and Tennessee, and I mean, you're still ongoing into Friday morning. Next Friday morning, snow continues. That is a pretty solid storm signal, guys. All right, so let's talk about the actual snow signal we're seeing. So we're going to take a look at the Euro ensemble, which is going to section this out in 48-hour period. So you're going to see this splotch of snow disappear because that 48-hour period's over. So what about the Euro ensemble? There's the signal for that first little system that'll ride the U.S.-Canadian border. That will bring some accumulating snow for probably northern areas of Minnesota, Dakotas, and Montana. But it's after this system, and we're getting into Thanksgiving Eve. I keep saying that. I like saying that. I don't know why. But, next Wednesday, right? Here's the signal. And then this is right in the middle of the day, Thanksgiving. Look at this signal. Remember, it's in 48-hour periods. I mean, you got a few inch snowfall across the middle of the country. That is a pretty loud signal for a substantial winter storm on the Euro ensemble right here in the middle of the country. More so kind of the north central areas of the country into the upper Midwest, even into the Great Lakes region as we're getting into next Friday into Saturday. That's a pretty substantial storm signal. Now we back it up and look at the GFS ensemble, and this is only going to give us in 24-hour periods, which is fine. Okay, here we go. We're starting to get into next Wednesday. There's the little bit of a signal Wednesday into Thursday for the middle of the country. It's a little bit further south, and it's not as strong, not as beefed up. You got an inch to 2 inch snowfall mean at most. showing up across Kansas into Missouri from Colorado. And then we get into Thanksgiving, a little bit of a snowfall mean across the Midwest, but it's definitely not as strong. Okay, and then you got another one that kind of follows into next weekend. What about the Euro ensemble for the eastern U.S.? There's that little bit of some snow, some lake effect, lake enhanced snow as we're starting to get into like next Wednesday. Now this is when it gets interesting. Remember, the Euro looks like it comes in a little bit later. Okay, so all these little splotches of dark gray and blue, this is really just lake enhanced stuff, lake effect stuff. This is the signal that comes in as we're getting into Friday. Okay, see how the signal builds for the interior New England and Northeast areas as we're getting into next Friday, next Saturday. And that's a pretty beefy snowfall mean for a big time winter storm across areas of the Northeast and maybe even mid-Atlantic. And, as we round off November and get into December 1st. All right. And once again, we'll kind of go back and look at the GFS ensemble. All right. Let's switch it and look at 24-hour periods. Remember, the GFS ensemble's 24-hour periods. What we show you with the Euro is 48 hours. And, as we're moving forward here, it looks much more scattered. There's the little bit of the signal for Thanksgiving showing up for the Northeast. It's not very high, at most an inch, inch and a half. But it really increases and favors more of that Euro timeline. It increases as we are getting more so into Friday, next Friday, the 29th, Black Friday. So there's your snowfall signal for the Northeast, really. And I know my people in the Southeast are wondering, well, Mitch, winter's over, when is it going to snow here? Folks, I mean, it's late November. I mean, it's hard enough to get snow in the South in January, right? So let's just be patient. If you're a winter weather fan, I would say this. And I would say it's good that the people are getting winter weather that are supposed to be getting winter weather in the right time of the year. If they're not getting winter weather, I mean, the chances of areas further south or they get winter weather is pretty low. That's normally the way it works. Not always, but normally. Now, what about temperatures? We're not going to spend as long on this. But there is going to be some true Arctic air for late November standards that's going to come down. And, this is daily max temperatures, so your actual high temperatures based off the blend of all models. And we're going to start this off for this coming Sunday. Highs only in the 20s up here. Big warmth kind of building in ahead of a lot of cold air. So, I mean, we're rising into the 70s and 80s in the south central U.S. But look as this cold front progresses. We're getting into next Monday. Highs only in the teens and the 20s up here in the Dakotas and Minnesota. And then we start to get into next Tuesday. Highs only in the 50s for Arkansas, 40s in Kansas and Missouri, Illinois, 30s points north. And then we start to get into next Wednesday. Man, it's going to be a cold traveling period. No record high temperatures this year. Looks like a pretty cold Thanksgiving week up here. Highs only in the teens and the 20s across the Midwest, the Dakotas, the High Plains. Looks like a warmer South. I really think, if you're wondering in the South, how's your Thanksgiving going to be? If you live in Texas, all the way through the deep South points east into the Southeast, I think it's going to be pretty warm. I think it takes a while for this cold air to get down. But you get into Thanksgiving, and this is just the blend of all models. Going for highs Thanksgiving well below freezing in certain areas, but around freezing to maybe a touch above freezing across areas of the plains and the Midwest, the upper Midwest. And then, we're watching for that reinforcing shot of cold air that could build in across the high areas of the country, the northern terrain of the country, for the last couple of days of Saturday, the last couple of days of November, which is Saturday. And, blend of all models for Saturday the 30th, going for the teens for highs. So, we can sit here and kind of go over the low temperatures, and the low temperatures look pretty cold. Single digits as we're getting into next Wednesday morning. Same thing with Thanksgiving morning. Lows only in the 20s as far south as, like Kansas, Missouri. And, these are low temperatures like the morning of November 30th. Negatives, below zero up here. So some cold air trying to come down. We look at the eastern U.S., let's just look at the low temperatures because this is a little bit further out in the eastern U.S. But we get into next Tuesday. There's the cold air moving in. Nothing too crazy in the southeastern U.S. Cold front makes it all the way to the East Coast. this isn't anything unbearable for this time of the year, but we get all the way into Thanksgiving morning. Could be a chilly Thanksgiving morning from like the mid-south, the upper southeast points north. I mean, temperatures well into the 20s. It's going to be cold out there. If you're, doing a Charlie Brown style Thanksgiving outside, it's going to be pretty cold for that. The Northeast looks pretty cold, and it looks pretty cold for your Black Friday morning shopping too. I mean, temperatures well into the 20s and pretty cold conditions. So let's stop it there. And, just to kind of give you the nerding out portion of this, if you will, this is the 500 millibar pattern. Okay. So you're looking at areas in, say, the red and the warmer colors. This is ridging, high pressure. The areas in blue is low pressure. The low pressure in the blue typically associated with energy, colder than average temperatures. And, the warmer colors on your screen, normally calmer conditions and above average temperatures. So we watch what the pattern looks like as we're starting to get into Thanksgiving morning. All right, already I'm seeing the blue show up right here, right? This is lower pressure, which makes sense because the Euro and the Euro ensemble, even the GFS, showing some sort of energy right in here. Okay, at the same time, folks, you see this, area and this reddish orange color. That's your ridge. This is spiking all the way up to Alaska. It's called a negative EPO. When this spikes up like this, it dislodges cold air south. And I know you're thinking, well, you got these yellows and oranges right here. This doesn't look like cold air. Ignore that. That is just symbolizing high pressure. I don't want you to think blue always means colder and then red always means hotter. That's not always the case. But this spike in the ridge is going to dislodge cold air south into this dip in the jet stream, into this energy, which is right here where I just drew the check mark. When it's dislodges cold air from the Arctic, a true Arctic source, it's going to feed into this energy down here. And, we're going to have a risk of winter weather. Okay, and we kind of watch the progression of this. And there's that lower pressure that starts to show up over, the areas of the eastern U.S. And then we get all the way out into next weekend, and we still got this ridge spiking up here. Okay, and you see these kind of lines kind of doing like that. That's cold air coming down into this blue, which is a lot of energy. And we got a little bit of blocking up here too. So, you got cold air coming down into this energy right here in the blue. Energy being whatever it is, precipitation, cold air meets it. In some cases, it could be snow or some sort of winter storm. Okay. And, you can see it well here. We start off about 6 days from now. There's the moderation of the temperatures across the deep south, just like the Climate Prediction Center is saying. And then here comes the below average temperatures. Don't focus on the greens and the whites or anything. Just look, in the green. You can focus on the greens and blues and stuff and whites, but don't focus on how cold the temperatures are below average. Just notice that as we're getting to day 10, a good chunk of the country is below average to well below average temperature wise because this dislodgement of cold air from this spiking ridge over areas of the Pacific up to Alaska. Okay, so you look at these below average temperatures. I know this is all the way out to the early portion of December, and then you look at the 200 millibar chart, which you see here in green. This is where our jet should be hanging out as we're getting about 6 to 7 to 8 days from now, where a lot of your energy, where your low pressure could be cruising across. Okay, so I'm going to just draw like an L here, L here, L here. Those are some ugly L's. Cold air coming down into those L's, which is lower pressure. That is where your energy is going to be screeching across, right into here. Cold air coming down into those brightened green, yellow colors, which is where your jet's going to be hanging out. You're going to get some sort of storm system. Okay, and this is the Euro ensemble too, averaging out where that jet could be, where that energy can be. So, man, highly interesting pattern coming up for a highly traveled week known as Thanksgiving week, right? So we'll continue to keep you updated with this. Listen, folks, I haven't talked about this a whole lot because I don't know what I'm going to do, and I know what a lot of people are going to say, and heck, people might even frown upon it. But I leave out for vacation tomorrow evening, and going to Gatlinburg actually from tomorrow evening all the way in the next Tuesday morning. Looks like we're about to enter a very active period of weather. This is, going to be a very nice vacation for us. But what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to bring my laptop, kind of keep you guys updated. I don't know how these videos are going to be. I might not even make a video, but this is just part of what I do. This is in a way, this is a hobby. I love doing it. And luckily, I should be able to wake up really early enough to feed you guys some information, or either stay up just a little bit later after the kids are asleep and work on a video for you guys to get you guys an update. But we're going to see how that's going to work. I've been thinking about it and pondering it all week, and I know a lot of people are going to say just don't make a video, and some people will like me for me too. But at the end of the day, I'm still thinking on it, still trying to figure it out, and I really want to be honest with you. I want to kind of keep the rhythm going. If the weather was not looking really active as we're getting into next week, highly traveled week, right? Then I wouldn't feel any real reason to do it. But man, it looks active, guys. And I love winter weather. I love breaking it down. It doesn't even feel like a job to me when I'm doing it. So trust me, guys. You guys know I'm family first. I'm not gonna let it interfere with anything. But I'm going to find a way to keep you guys updated, whatever that may be. Not sure, but definitely hit me up on my social media platforms. Mitch West Weather on Twitter, X, and Facebook. That's a great way. It's a great way to stay up to date when I'm not on here, talking my jaw off to you guys about the weather. So just wanted to add that. But that's all I got. God bless all y'all. I'll talk to you again in the morning. I hope you guys have a great night.